Hello folks, the music is way too loud. I forgot to turn it down. Hi. How's it hanging? Friendos. Welcome back to the Rogue Room. I am Abigail. Or Rogue. Oh no. You know, I've been trying to call myself Rogue. I'm Rogue. How you doing? Tossed another pic of the Gamer Cafe. And my beauty is turned up. I put some foundation on, some contour, some highlight. I look a little bit nicer tonight. And some very, very, very faint color on my eyes. A little bit of very natural looking eyeshadow, I think. Don't go overboard. Sometimes, you know, the goth is nice. You know, going extreme, having a ton of color and pizzazz can be quite fun, but sometimes I want to look nice and natural. And I really honestly wasn't thinking I'd like this brown lipstick all that much, but I'm in love with it. It's so good. How are you folks? Hello Princess, how's it going? Waiting on a phone call so you can do the second to last adult thing you need to do this week. Gross, adulting. Oh, cleaning. I'm finding, quite ironically, as someone who used to work in a job where I was cleaning. I used to loathe and detest it, but I was cleaning a supermarket, mind you. Now I enjoy cleaning my own house, doing my laundry, like having those little chores to keep me busy, to stay on top of that schedule. It's quite nice, actually. It's quite cathartic. I do need to vacuum this house, though. I've been very lazy with vacuuming. How's your day been? What have you been up to? What have you done? Oh, water. By the way, fake gamer girl. Let's drink. There is your hydration. I just got condensation on myself. Awesome. Thank you. Want laundry that'll do itself? I mean, you could get if you got a, Dell, there you are. I mean, I have the unfortunate situation of my laundry is it's like where I live, there's a shared laundry. It's actually that way because that's the back of the house. Where it's like in the backyard. But if I had a laundry that was directly attached to my house, like, you know, a room in the house sort of thing, where I don't have to go outside, go around out into the backyard, into a separate little room. I'd probably just put all my laundry in the washing machine, which would take a lot of the effort out of having a laundry basket, I suppose. You know. Also, I got this light working, look at that. Queer AF. I don't know where to put it though. I don't know, it won't, if I put it on the shelves, you're not even going to make out the lettering. Look at that, you can't even see it from there. So I don't know what to do with this fucking thing that I bought specifically so you could see it, and you can't see it unless I do this. And I shove it in your face. But at least I got the lights in it. So we got that going for us, which is nice. But now what do I do with the bastard? What do I do with it? Twitch is telling you things are out of stock. Oh, the rewards? They should have refreshed. Certain things should have refreshed. Most certainly. My hair look okay? I put some hairspray in it to try to keep it on this side of my head because I've had problems with it staying on one side. Make a cardboard cutout and cut out those letters. That'd probably be easier. Just do the same thing I did with my play button. I have 1,000 subscriber play button there. There you go. Unicorn. As in the kitchen, but you hate having to do it because Tom has like 3 pairs of work pants and refuses to reuse a towel. Really? Demacia, oh my god. Wait, what the fuck?
All the delights of the subscriber lounge.
Why do you people keep buying the most expensive things to support me? What is wrong with you? Demacia, you're a fucking legend. Thank you so kindly. For the tier 3 sub, which just says to me, you, Demacia, live rent free. I did the point at the wrong time. Thank you. That's for you. Wallet flex. I've been thinking, like, I'm really bad with, like, I have not subbed to someone in a very long time because I'm broke, but then it occurs to me when I have money, I buy fast food, so I'm a really slack bitch. You know, once I'm doing okay and I've got a little bit more cash, I'm going to start subbing to some more of my favorite streamers. Because they deserve it. We should just have $1,700, well, I mean, $1,700 a week would be nice, gosh. Dang! Where do you live, Demacia, by the way? I can't remember if we've discussed this or not. Like, just like generally in the world. Not your suburb. I have a story about suburbs actually. From when, and this is a big dumb 15-year-old on the internet never do this kind of thing, for the record. You live in Victoria, there you go. Well, that's a solid salary. That is a solid amount. How much I'm not going to say how much I make per week or per fortnight or what have you. But there is a teenage moron on the internet story. Oh no! You got you got timed out for using the phrase super straight. Lol. Sorry, it was only like a 1 second timeout. You're fine to talk again, but just don't say it again, or the bot will just keep smacking you. I look amazing. Thank you, Bagel. I actually have a story on the subject of, like, you know, where you live and all that sort of stuff. Me being an absolute moron on the internet as like a 15 to 17-year-old teenager, started chatting with someone. You know, just because, you know, that was what you did back at that time frame, around about 2004-ish. Started chatting with someone, and I told them where in... I didn't tell them specifically where it was. I didn't point it out to them on a map, but I told them the name of the town I was living in at the time. I'm not living there now. And they just refused to believe me, because that town had a particularly Italian-sounding name. Like it sounded like a place that was in Italy. And I was just like, I don't have anything to prove to you. I wouldn't lie about the name of the town I'm living in. And yet they were so absurdly unable to fathom it. Thank you for the posture check and the hydration, Fox. Yeah, of course I don't talk about it, Sophros. Is there a reason I have to? There you go, Fox. Points flex and regular flex. Maybe I should make that a reward. Should I make that a reward? How expensive should a regular flex be? You know. It's not gonna work if I'm wearing like one of my long dresses though. Baton Rouge would like to have a word with that person. With the... Oh, yeah. Wait, where's Baton Rouge? Let me look that... I know... Where is that? That's in... Yeah, Louisiana. Yeah, I was about to say Louisiana, yeah. Of course, do I work out? Just literally... Yes. Most of my workouts these days, though, I only do 2 very light entire upper body days per week, though, these days. And most of my main muscle building is my lower half and my abs. So I do 2 days of legs and butt. I did a very good butt day today, and I posted some very nice photos on the Twitter, and you can go look at my butt on Twitter. Don't worry, I'm wearing tights. It's nothing lewd. And so I do 2 leg days a week.
Welcome back, supporter of the cause. Because you're now part of my daily ritual.
Goodness sake. Thank you for living. Thank you for allowing me to live rent free in your head. Oh my goodness. Fox, you've been following for 1 year and 4 months. Oh my goodness. Pick up old 50s and 60s Chevys and Fords for an average of 5k and flip them for around 50, 60k. Oh my god, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. I have to wait a minute. Oh, that's shit. You thought of you and the abuse you always get. You played a game that would attract non-regulars, but forgot to untag LGBTQ+. You got it? Really? You got a ton of transphobia? And, I mean, honestly, Yell, I got a error from Twitch API 404. I actually, funnily enough, Yellball, last night we played Bioshock, not a single, despite having the LGBTQ+ tag, not a single troll whatsoever while playing Bioshock. I do not know why. We had no trolls. It was great. It was awesome. Even in like the intro where we were just sitting talking for like half an hour. It was a solid, 3 hours of no trolls playing Bioshock. Followage. Why does it feel like some of you have been following me for way longer than the bot is telling me? Became a mod and had nothing to do. Yeah, I know. Franco, welcome to the Rogue Room. Yeah, they do hunt the Just Chatting channels. They absolutely do. And so for us, welcome to the Rogue Room. Have I seen this topical news bit yet? What is it? Hello, Wango Buffalo. Something is sacred to these bigots. Who knew? Bioshock. They will not attack you if you're playing Bioshock. I'm safe in Rapture. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've sent me? 'Cause I don't know what you're talking about. What is this bit of news you've Hang on. This is going to be relevant. This is going to be relevant to tonight's events. Are you ready for Lee Lin Chin saying
penises?
Oh no, stop. What if I... No, we don't want to talk about... Sorry, Philosophy Tube. We don't want to talk about what is democracy. No. Penises.
Penises.
I didn't mean to replay it, I'm sorry. I'm gonna save that. I'll just put it in watch later, whatever. I'm gonna turn that into a soundbite. Fuck it, this is elementary health class. Oh my god, yes. No, I did mean to... We want to talk about penises. We're going to talk about big swinging dicks. Which is a thing. It's honestly not funny. It's very, very sad and miserable, and Australian politics is a corrupt fucking nightmare, but we are going to talk about big swinging dicks. And what that means, and what the context is. Big swinging dicks like penises? They're definitely related to. But yeah, as I was about to say, Black Cat, I think they definitely do, quite frankly, since I have switched to Just Chatting. Which is kind of astounding that they managed to find my channel amidst, like... Let me actually look up the category of Just Chatting on Twitch Tracker, right? Alright, I want to see something. Category Just Chatting. Averages... Average viewers over 7 days. Around 338,000 viewers a day. It's one of the biggest categories on the platform. Actually, it's the number one, according to this, ranked platform on the ranked category on the platform. Which doesn't seem right. Which means there's a ton. There is a perpetual ton of streamers in Just Chatting. A lot of people in Just Chatting. Right? There's currently 175,000 right now. And also the LGBTQ category. Yeah, I haven't actually tried the whole subject of going through tags. I need to do that one day. I need to actually click on the LGBTQIA plus tag. I'm honestly going to take the Vosh stance on this. I know it's probably not a good idea to align my political viewpoints with Vosh, but I cannot wait until we just shorten the whole thing to queer. Quite frankly, we should be tagged. Yeah, it's all tagged. It's just not showing up. Oh, hang on. No, it's not. No, it is. No, it is. It is. I've got LGBTQIA+, AMA, news, mental health, and educational. Those are my 5 main tags that I roll with. But anyway, yeah, my general stance is like, you know, I can't wait till we shorten that to queer. It'll be so much easier, because that word has been reclaimed by the queer community, you know? No backseating. Started using Twitch 2 months ago, you think? There you go. Have you been following me since the beginning, or... Because that would tell you, you know, 1 month, 1 week if that's the case, but if not... show up as number 28 with that tag on. Really? How do I check? How do I check tags? How do you find tags? I've tried to look through tags before, and honestly, they're kind of useless. Let's click on Pixel Smixels on my front page, and I'm trying to, like... Here we go. Search tags. Okay. If I go LGBTQIA+, well, if I sort by viewers... Notice this, by the way. I have noticed this personally. I don't know what's happened here, why this has changed. But there was an option a little while back that Twitch added. Like, if we just go to this right now. There was an option here, sort by viewers low to high, and I swear they removed it. Either that or there's a bug or something and it's just gone. I don't know why. Hello, Kit. I see you in there swinging your banhammer around. How you doing? Did they remove it? Does anyone have any context for that? They added this and the internet, the Twitch community, blew up over it. They were like, oh my god, we finally have a categorization to sort by smaller streamers, which would be a great boon, and they took it away again. Which, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway. Didn't mention the game you play because it would come off as self-promo, but you can could warn me? Yeah, okay. Go on, sure. What game were you playing? Actually, I had a very brief Twitter interaction with Mia Moore today, where we were talking about BioShock, and she mentioned Life is Strange, and I may give that a crack. I want to, like, in terms of the games I would like to play in the not too distant future, after we finish BioShock, I'd like to play The Outer Worlds again and give that a proper go through, the whole way through. And then also, After that, we could do Life is Strange. I want to do things that have heavier themes that we could delve into in terms of gaming. Pretty sure they did remove it because trolls were sorting by lower view accounts and to find people easier to harass. That would make sense. People with lower view accounts are newer to streaming typically and haven't been desensitized to the harassment as well as the bigger streamers have. True. Switch between Jackbox and Quiplash category specifically. Yeah, that draws trolls. Jackbox loves to draw trolls in. I've only played it like once. Yes, Custer's Revenge, totally. Then, yeah. Have it set on high to low. You're the 28th most viewers with that tag on Just Chatting. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, they are cowards. The anonymity of the internet does lead to a lot of people having this feeling of empowerment because they can say and do whatever they want, and even in like actual, and even in like gaming situations, like in gaming lobbies, when you can hear their voice and like they're like, honestly, voice chat in video games is one of the worst for these kind of things. You know, they will just find somebody they don't like to just abuse on their team or whatever it is, whatever game they're playing. One of the ones that we noticed recently-ish when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends with Calgar and all that, we had a random teammate join our team. And they were screeching into their microphone at us about how bad we were playing, but we couldn't actually, like very faintly, could you actually make out any of their words because their whole thing, their microphone was scratchy as all hell. There was no, I couldn't make them out at all. So I had to find out from somebody else that that's what was going on. Anyway. Oh, there's plenty of Aussie bigots. Oh, yes. You have the utmost respect for trans league content creators. Jesus Christ, yes. I would not, I mean, honestly, any of the competitive games. I would not play any of the big competitive games. There was a significant chunk of time earlier on in my streaming career where I was playing a lot of Dead by Daylight and Overwatch, on PS4 specifically. And because I was playing with friends, the banter was just between us as friends. We didn't have any interactions with anyone else on voice chat. That was a random. Might be due to being in an Australian time zones. All the US streamers in the category is like, well, true. The reason I'm high up in the category. Okay, that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. This does seem like I've noticed a few of my fellow Australian creators tend to go live around nighttime in Australia. From about 6 or 7 o'clock onwards. And some of them, quite frankly, people like excessive profanity, I've noticed. Although I feel like he's changed his schedule. Whenever I see him online now, it's like the middle of the day, which is really weird. But he used to be on through the night. You know, he'd start late at night and go till the morning. I'm like, that can't be a healthy streaming schedule, especially as a parent. You know, he has a young kid. Yeah, our fascist government banned streaming during daylight, yes. Rena, if you make me a trans flag blankie, I will love you eternally, forever, and ever, and ever, and ever. What did Abby do today? Usual stuff, hit the gym. Today was leg day. Did leg day. Did glutes, which is always a pain in the ass to set up because there's a good machine in certain gyms that have very, very specialized equipment. I go to a pretty standard gym, so they got all the normal stuff, but there's certain pieces of equipment that are just simply not available at this gym. And one of them is this device where you can set a barbell up. Yes, glutes is a pain in the ass. Yes. Are you happy now? Anyway, there's this machine that you can get for glute raises specifically. And what a glute raise is you put the bar across your hip, across your waist area, I suppose, and you're lifting the bar up with your glutes. You're positioning yourself so that your legs are in a, like a angled position, and you're, I guess, I don't know, I can't even explain it to you, but you're lifting the bar with your glutes with weights on either side. And if you have this certain device that holds the bar in place with the plates on the sides of it, makes life a lot easier, but not every gym has that. So what I had to do was actually set up like a stack of plates and then sit my barbell on top of it and then slide my legs under it to get into position. It's really awkward. About to watch T1J's new video. Might be able to manipulate you into watching that. What is it? What's T1J's new video? Depends what the content is. Have a neurological disease that essentially makes all of your physiological processes into a nocturnal version of a human, so your time zone is so irrelevant, leads to a very international audience. That's good, I suppose. You get to watch me every day. Aww. I'm getting dripped on again. Stop. You just work nights? I used to do that. I used to be going to bed at like 7 p.m. I fucking hated it. I actually napped today. Addressing the absent black fathers trope. Interesting. Oh, I remember T1J. I was like, I know that name, and I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Well, let's change the title for a sec. We'll come back to Big Swinging Dicks, and we'll actually do the discussion around that. Do we change the title to the absent black fathers trope, maybe? Or do I just leave it as Big Swinging Dicks and we come back to that story? we'll just watch the video. We won't change the title because that might complicate things. Anyway, but yeah, let's have a watch. Let's have a watch of this. Did I pause it? Yes, I did. And trolls will come regardless. I have trans in the title. They always get here. All right. This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. A lot of Americans are committed to the idea that America is the greatest country in the world. Some conservatives in particular like to accuse people of hating America whenever they try to tackle or even merely point out potential structural problems that plague the country. But even
somebody posted a tweet today also, you know, trying to, I think it was a tweet that I saw, some right winger trying to attack people for daring to use words like structural and institutional, and it's like, so you're just admitting to everyone else you don't know what those words mean. You think they're just buzzwords that have no definition. Essentially, how dare my political opponents have intellect? Just finished watching the John Doyle / Lauren Witzke versus Blair White Karlin Poroshenko debate, and let me tell you, it was a doozy. How long is it, Louis? Wouldn't mind giving that a look. Capitalism made you nocturnal. You want to make the joke that the two are related, but that's stereotypical. Not allowed to use words I don't understand. I know. How dare you be intelligent? And then, like, one of their favorite, you know, one of those people, their favorite types of folks like Jordan Peterson, who just rattles off random, very big words that you need to have 3 different degrees to understand what they even mean in the first place. They're very hypocritical like that, I've noticed.
Even many people with more left-leaning political views often have a hard time dealing with the assertion that maybe there are some fundamental problems with the way
I like the word proclivity.
That this country operates. So whenever systemic problems are suggested, they default into finding something else to blame. It couldn't possibly be that bigotry and injustice are baked into the very fabric of the United States, because that would be a pretty strong argument against this country being so great. And I'm sure that other countries have...
It's always great. The people who always say that their country is great, again, I'm going to bring up everybody's favorite bearded fucknut. Isaac Butterfield loves to assert that Australia is a great country. And it's always, you know, these people who are in these very middle upper class upbringings who've got a lot going for them, tons of privilege. This is like blatantly obvious shit, by the way. This is like sociology 101. Let's clarify that. You know, we're observing very, very base concepts of privilege. Too essentialist a term regardless, great. Yeah, define great for me. If you say Australia is great, or like, you know, the Make America Great Again, keep America great, blah, blah, blah. What are you defining as great in that circumstance? How do you qualify what great is? I've got mine, so obviously everything's fantastic and it shouldn't change exactly.
Have similar
Sorry, I'll let him speak now. I keep interrupting the man, who is a great content creator, by the way. I've seen a couple of his videos. He's actually fantastic. Go follow T1J.
Discussions as well in their society. But as usual, I can mostly only speak from an American perspective. In America, one of the most prevalent examples of this is with regard to how we talk about the poor. The general attitude towards poor people in America is pretty abhorrent. We often think of the poor as lazy, drug-addicted, uncivilized people who sit around and wait for the government to bail them out of the consequences of their own bad decisions. In this way, the poor are depicted as bad people who got what they deserved rather than victims of a system that is intentionally designed to exploit and marginalize them.
And that's been the case for since the beginning, quite frankly. There's a segment, honestly, that kind of relates to what he's talking about. Like, all of that idea, you know, everyone who's in black communities and they're lazy, drug addict, all that sort of stuff is a common conservative talking point. Like, do you remember Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically going out of her way to say that the whatchamacallit, what was she saying? Her point was one of the major reasons that black folks are experiencing all the societal issues that are honestly foisted upon them because of a lack of privilege that other people have used to suppress and oppress them. She was blaming it on gangs. You know, she goes, "It's these gangs. These black Americans are in these gangs," and like that was her argument, and she, completely dismissing the fact that the reason gangs exist is entirely based in institutional white privilege and structural racism, right? What part of Australia is great? The country was founded on oppression. We treated Euro convicts like slaves and the indigenous like animals. We fought 2 wars because Britain said so. We let our left-wing party sell unions up the river. We still treat our indigenous population like trash today. Exactly which part of this country is racist? I think there is an argument to be made. There's definitely an argument to be made that Obama is racist by being a part of the system, and he's not exactly a perfect person either, but you know, around these parts we definitely hold the viewpoint of do not stand politicians. But I mean, you can have your own viewpoints on whether someone is a good or bad politician or what have you. August, Australians are the best. Love from Sweden. Thank you, Swedish person. Hi Weather, how you doing?
This is an especially fitting example because America is always billed as this great land of opportunity that rewards those who persist and work hard. So if you are poor and out of luck, that's just proof that you didn't work hard enough or didn't make good enough decisions. It certainly couldn't be any fundamental problem with the system as a whole. These types of arguments are also used within the context of race and racism. For decades, American concern trolls have been discussing just what black people need to do to lift themselves out of lives of poverty and crime. Everything from drugs to rap music has been blamed for destroying black communities.
I hate the argument against rap music, by the way. I don't listen to rap music, but music is artistic expression, and a lot of black music has been appropriated by white artists over the years, you know, jazz, rock, etc. You know.
Some particularly embarrassing people have suggested that black people are genetically predisposed to worse outcomes than other races.
Oh my
Remember
God.
when that was all over the place on the internet a couple years ago? Most of these theories have their day in the sun briefly and then kind of fall out of the mainstream discourse and are relegated to the darkest corners of country clubs and anonymous message boards, only to be immediately replaced by something else, of course. But there is one scapegoat that seems to have stood the test of time. I'm referring, of course, to the idea of the erosion of the black family, and more specifically, the idea of the absent black father. This has always been a common argument for why black people generally have a lower standard of living than white people.
Can I make the argument that I did have a father throughout most of my life as a white person? So whenever people go and make the joke about absent black fathers and all that, I'm just like, hi, white person who was raised 98% of the time by a woman, entirely by herself. So that's not, you know, that whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. White Australia policy, yes, indeed, Japanese internment. Our current and ongoing refugee policy. White Australia policy after Federation, where they force deported non-white people and refused to allow non-white people into the country. And there was also, you know, if we want to get back to the extermination of the indigenous people in Australia, there was the concept of breeding out interracial children. You know, so the idea was let the cross-racial white and Aboriginal children grow to a certain age, marry them to more white people. They have whiter children, and they just keep doing that until the Aborigine has been bred out. Do you remember that? That was a thing that was spread around for a while there. Also forced aborted natural-born citizens if they weren't white. Absolutely fucking abhorrent.
Even during and before the civil rights era. Like, imagine living during Jim Crow and redlining and all that shit and still blaming generational poverty on black men.
That's a fancy logo.
Hi, I'm T1J.
Follow me.
This video, like all my videos, would not be possible without my members and patrons, including homies like A Mnemonic Device, Enchanted Sleeper, Dr. Diplodocus, and Dylan Smith. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a homie yourself by clicking the join button below the video or by checking out my page on Patreon. The idea that black families are devastated by absent fathers still persists today, even among well-meaning people, many of whom—
I do need a little synthesizer riff to go with my own logo. I mean, if you've watched my videos, I've got like a very short intro. I do have an intro and an outro, but I don't quite like the music that goes with them. And I kind of want to update my graphics, but I'm not an animator in any sense of the imagination.
Might consider themselves allies to the black community.
I'm looking at 500 young brothers that don't have a dad in their life. That's a problem. And I'm on a mission to help reverse that curse.
Even people who ostensibly acknowledge that institutional and systemic barriers exist for black people still sometimes argue that repairing the family structure is an important step for improving the lives of black Americans. Former Democratic President Barack Obama gave an entire speech about the supposed problem of missing black fathers back in 2008. But this concept is also a pet argument for right-wingers and others who are less likely to concede that there may be factors outside of these people's control that lead to these problems. Popular conservative personality Larry Elder has argued that black fatherlessness is the #1 problem facing black Americans today. Now, normally in a video like this, I would carefully lay out all the arguments and have an elegant narrative arc that gradually leads to the conclusion at the end. All right, let's be honest, I'm probably giving myself too much credit here. But for this one, I'm gonna kind of spoil it.
Anyway, hang on a sec. Apologies for the stolen generation. Pretend eugenics weren't a part of it. Yeah. The reason that they pretend eugenics wasn't a part of our history, right? The reason that Americans don't pretend eugenics was a part of our history, because, you know, if you go back and you look at the slave era, very specifically, slave owners would breed their biggest, strongest black men with their biggest, strongest black women to produce bigger, stronger black children for the purposes of having bigger, stronger slaves working their cotton fields and all that kind of nonsense. So, which is explicitly eugenics in its own way. But then we also have if we go back to the situation of breeding out the Aborigines, you know, in an attempt, a literal genocidal attempt. They don't like to confront that because of the fact, of course, you know, eugenics is associated with stuff like Nazi Germany, you know, and nobody wants to be associated with Nazi Germany and, you know, fascist Italy and other places like that. It's the reason that the term fascist, quite frankly, has become a joking term in the political landscape. Because people will now constantly just jab back and forth. This thing you're doing is fascist. No, this thing you're doing is fascist. And then you see it bandied about a bit because nobody wants to be associated with it. They would rather project their insecurities on the other side and say, you know, you're doing the absolute worst thing of the worst things here. Even a lot of liberals were full-on eugenicists in the early 20th century. Many a well-respected intellectual in that era believed in that, even Helen Keller. Yeah, exactly. You know, viewpoints on really abhorrent things have drastically shifted in the past 100 years, so to say.
Here up front, the concept of the absent black father is a myth. It's not real. This topic is especially interesting to me as a black person who was mostly raised by a single mother, but whose father also made every attempt to be involved in my life. It's a pernicious stereotype, but unlike other stereotypes, which are normally only spoken out loud by the kind of person who has a Confederate flag in their front window or that kid in your Call of Duty game, this one is covered extensively.
Why would you have Just genuine question here. Why would you have a Confederate flag in your front window? Why would you keep a Confederate flag? Why would you keep the flag of a group of losers in your front? They lost. Same with the Nazi flag. They lost. Guys, they lost. Why are you showing pride for losers? Quite frankly, the most amusing thing is those people who are going on, saying, it's about heritage, not hate. Fucking bullshit, first of all. But the most amusing thing about those particular movements, the Nazis and the Confederates and all of that, is their entire movements are based around the idea that they are superior. They are the better of, them versus their enemies. And yet they both blatantly just lost hugely because they're losers. Those SJWs giving out participation trophies to everyone. Wasn't about racism, it was about states' rights to keep black people as property. Yes. Saw a hell of a lot of Confederate flags in New Hampshire, of all places. It's kind of, honestly, we need to go into, I think, actually, there is a story tonight that I want to touch on. I don't think, did I say that? Yeah. This is interesting. Dozens of Capitol rioters were turned in by childhood friends, family members, colleagues, and ex-lovers who watched them storm the building. So there's an interesting little bit of the sociological imagination there. We could look at the way the internet has corrupted the minds of people from all across America to participate in that particular movement on that day, on January 6th. Anywho, let's continue with T1J.
By serious politicians and presenters and depicted in news and media as if it is just an unfortunate fact of life.
Father of sons is a crisis in our country, particularly in the African American community. It is an epidemic. It is an epidemic.
Now, outside of stereotypical media depictions, this idea mostly stems from an erroneous conflation of being unmarried with being absent. Because according to the CDC, it is true that around 70% of Black people who had children in 2018 were unmarried. It's also true that Black couples have a higher divorce rate than other races. But as I just mentioned, being unmarried does not automatically imply that the father is not involved in the child's life.
I've been studying sociology for longer than 1 week. Thank you very much. In 3 weeks. Anyway.
In fact, a separate CDC report found that whether or not they live with the child, Black fathers are actually more actively involved in the children's life than their counterparts of other races. And when they do live with...
Although actually, like, being serious, I have been interested in this stuff since I did my first... Let me think. I did an introduction to sociology about 3 or 4 years ago, roughly. I think my certificate is from 2017. And I've just sort of casually kept abreast of the situation since, where, I haven't done too much in-depth research, but more recently I have been reading a whole lot more about a number of different things. So I'm kind of very, very keen on going to university for this, honestly. Most don't even know the story behind the flag, just use it to show their bigotry. That is true. A lot of them, honestly, ironically, have... Yeah, I know you're joshing. I know you're kidding. But I figure I might as well give a bit of context here. I am, for anyone who is curious, I am actually studying. I have entered my bachelor's in social science, with the intent of going into a major in sociology and anthropology. Yes, that's what I'm doing. And allow me to think for a moment, which I don't even know what kind of jobs that can get me aside from doing this shit, but with more information to yell at you. I guess. Anyway, social work. Yeah. Anywho, I mean that was kind of my main inspiration for doing it was to do this, but to have more of a foundation for everything I say. It wasn't about getting a job. It was about having knowledge. There's a difference.
With their children, Black fathers are still more likely to closely interact with and care for them through activities such as bathing, helping with homework, or explaining why they feel all tingly whenever they watch Fern Gully. All right, maybe that last one is just me. Now, the one part of this idea that may hold a little weight is the rate at which Black fathers, for whatever reason, end up not living with their children. According to the Pew Research Center,
Fern Gully.
44%
Who else loved Fern Gully as a kid? Good movie. Good fucking movie. I was really disappointed by the live action remake they did, where James Cameron directed it.
of black fathers live apart from at least one of their children.
Oh yeah, Fern Gully is set in Australia. Oh my god, I keep forgetting about that. I'm showing my... Shut up!
And of course, it's much harder to be a constant presence in a child's life if you don't live with them. But as I already mentioned, black fathers who don't live with their children have been found...
Yeah, actually, you know what? Good point, Nouveau. Oh, I can't see the like-dislike ratio. I suppose that's a good thing. Adding a like for the Fern Gully reference. You blame toxic love for your interest in men. Was your favorite? Didn't it? No, the live-action Avatar. Don't watch it. Not worth it. Honestly, Avatar is just a phenomenal example of this film that exploded in terms of popularity for a second and then vanished from the social discourse forever. The only time anyone ever brings up Avatar anymore is like, do you remember what any of the characters in Avatar were called? You know, the one with the big blue people, not the airbender. That's the only time anyone ever brings up James Cameron's Big Blue People, the movie, which is about Avatar, the blue people, not the last airbender, which didn't happen. It's not a real thing. They made that up. It was fake. And now I've heard there's talk of a live-action Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Just kill me.
Found to be more present in their children's lives than parents of other races. And while 44% is a significant number, it warrants discussion. It's less than half. It's not this destructive plague in the way that people like to talk about it. So yeah, this epidemic of black fatherlessness is not really a thing. But some people may still be alarmed at the high rate at which black families have children when they're not married. Of course, family stability results in better outcomes for children, and there's plenty of data that supports the idea that these outcomes are much better for married parents than cohabiting or single ones, in almost every measurable way, honestly. But as you might imagine, it's not some magical spell that gets cast on the family as soon as you say, I do. And listen, just like everything else, it's fucking complicated. But it's worth it to try and find out what it is about marriage that results in all of these benefits for children. An analysis by the Brookings Institution found that parenting behavior plays a large role in the future success of the child, which is probably not a surprise to anyone.
Honestly, this kind of feels relevant to the fact that here I am, a streamer on Twitch, who has suddenly developed a very keen interest in the idea of teaching and disseminating ideas around social topics, particularly, and political topics. The idea, just like the idea of being sort of a teacher in a way, or like let's learn together in a way kind of thing, that kind of almost feels like it stems directly from the fact that my mother has long been a person who... Am I thinking of becoming a black father? Yes. My mother has been a teacher for quite a while now, and I feel like that has rubbed off on me and my sister, quite frankly. That's an interesting thing to note, whereas, you know, my father's particular corporate interests and the fact that he has been seldom a presence in my life by comparison to my mother, that influence there is an interesting point to make.
Things like showing care and physical affection for the child, or...
We're talking about T1J's video about the absent black father myth at the moment.
Reading and playing with the child are associated...
Oh, hang on. It was so long and so boring and about as deep as an allegory on race and occupation as one could expect from an unwoke white man.
With things like higher rates of high school and college graduation and lower rates of crime. It doesn't tell the whole story, of course, but there seems to be a very strong association. Perhaps married people are more likely to exhibit these behaviors for various reasons. Maybe a stronger commitment to the family, or the reduced likelihood of unplanned or unwanted pregnancies, for example. But Brookings also found that another reason why married couples have so much better outcomes for their children is, and you probably guessed this by now, they tend to have more money. And again, this is for various reasons, the most basic of which is just math. Multiple earners are better than one. But also, it's just more common for people with higher incomes to choose to get married in the first place. And like I implied before, it's not like a money fairy shows up at your wedding and gives you the blessing of income as soon as you exchange your vows. In fact, the financial...
I had a joke I was going to make there, but I realize it's really, really racist when I think about it, when I break it down. Because it's, honestly, there's a reason I would have made the joke, because it is a cultural institution among that particular crowd. Not a bad thing. Only against him. No, not being... And having an absent father didn't make me want to commit a crime. No, being gay made me want to commit crimes. I want to be gay, do crimes. That's it. Yes, the idea of having a wedding and everyone throwing money at you. Be the only reason I'd be interested in getting married.
Situation often gets more complicated after marriage. The pre-existing socioeconomic status of the people involved will affect whether they choose to get married, and will also affect whether they stay married if they do. It's also worth mentioning, yo, it ain't the 50s anymore. Ideas about premarital sex and non-marital childbirth have evolved heavily over time. The prevalence of rushed shotgun weddings as soon as someone got pregnant has dropped drastically. People are...
The idea of the shotgun wedding is so fucked up, honestly. I feel like boys are better off with a good father figure in their lives, but it's not going to ruin their lives to not have that. Yes. Quite frankly, yes. I mean, premarital sex, pog. Can we get some premarital sex in chat?
Fine with fucking outside of marriage, and they don't feel any specific obligation to get married before having children. So then I guess the last rebuttal to this would be something like,
well, why don't black people stop having children if they can't afford them or give them a bright future?
And listen, I think it is a very good idea to think carefully about bringing a new life into this world if you know that you're going to have trouble providing for them, or...
Still happens in Catholic countries a lot. That is unfortunate.
Setting them up for a promising future. But who the hell am I, or you, or anyone to tell someone else how to live their life? It's a very personal situation and decision, and it's kind of none of our business. And of course, sometimes things happen unexpectedly, and you have to figure out how to deal with it.
Reno with the fucking banger take there. It's not premarital sex if you never get married.
Consequences.
Which honestly just, makes the whole thing really ridiculous when you unpack it. It's like, it's only premarital sex if you end up getting married at some point, and the assumption is that you're going to get married. That is the social assumption of people, among other many other social assumptions. We generally expect that a boy is going to marry a girl at some point, and then they're going to go and do the sexing off in the bedroom, surrounded by their family members who are watching eagerly as they consummate their marriage, because that is actually a weird ritual in some Abrahamic religions for some fucking reason. Why is religion? We are at some point going to do the religious fascism thing. I promise. Smus Aran, welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? It's a weird thing. I think it's a Mormon thing, but it stems from the bloodstained sheets. Holy fucking shit, dude. Yeah, the virginal sheets argue that even if you never got married, sex is still premarital, since at the time of having it you weren't married. Yes. Yeah. Why is religion? But I do actually inherently want to delve into the fascism of religion and the use of religion among fascist nations at some point. Yeah, all religion has fascistic elements, which is why I wanted to do this, but I need to unpack quite a lot of it in my head first. I need to research a ton. I wouldn't mind doing a video on it, actually, but it doesn't really feel like it vibes with what I'm doing with my video essays right now. We'll see. What's up, Little Uzi? How's it going? Most coherently you've ever heard an Aussie streamer speak. Thank you.
But the issue here is not that black fathers are missing from their kids' lives, or that black people are having too many kids out of wedlock. The issue is that black Americans live in a country that is still tainted by the legacy of slavery and legalized oppression, and are systematically marginalized by almost every institution. From employment to wages to healthcare to representation in government to housing, and of course law enforcement and criminal justice, which I made a couple videos about recently.
We'll come back to him in a second. I just want to talk about this particular thing about the way that Australian content creators tend to speak, and I have noticed this quite frequently with a number of content creators. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a number of them that are very eloquent and able to get their points across quite effectively and so forth. But I've definitely noticed a number of content creators whose personalities, quite frankly, align with a number of people I've been around in social settings, people I used to hang around with, say, when I was with my ex, we would hang around primarily her groups of friends, the kind of people she would hang around with. And when I used to work at the supermarket, a lot of my co-workers and things like that, they had a particular way of speaking. And it does kind of, it honestly kind of speaks to this idea, fucking hell, I've generally always lived in, I'm honestly curious, I'm wondering if this is perhaps the case. I've generally always lived in lower socioeconomic areas, so that generally means a lower level of overall intellect. And there are a number of people who I've met, like a quite significant number of people I've met, who tend to espouse viewpoints of like, oh, I don't care about politics, for example. They tend to espouse a lot of very, very surface level shit. Very, very shallow surface level shit. And that feeds into their manner of speaking as well. That feeds into the way that they talk, the way they enunciate words and things like that, I think. There's a development of a certain type of slang, and I guess blue collar Aussie accent. Yes, absolutely, yes. That blue collar Aussie accent is like how's it going, mate? That kind of thing. Gonna head on down the chippy, grab a burger and some chips, mate, and head on down the bottle, grab a 6-pack, mate. Yeah. Like they tend to ramble a little bit, and a lot of them tend to be very high energy people as well. What up, Big Daddy? How's it going? Look at this, Maxie. Thank you. There are rich white Aussies that talk like that too, and I think, quite frankly, that could potentially be because of an attempt to look ochre, an attempt to look relatable, honestly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've known, especially amidst what's it called? Politicians. People like Scott Morrison. The classism. We are talking about class, yes. Did you both delete at the same time? Hello, Shift MP3. How you doing? Welcome to the Rogue Room. Have an odd thing to set forward that you've noticed you've started speaking less accented since transition. Really? I feel like I've noticed a lot of changes in the way that I speak. I'm going to blame the estrogen. No, you don't want me. Oh my god. What's going on here? Let's go back to T1J's video.
This catastrophe of broken black families is an exaggeration. Black people do get the shorter end of the stick when it comes to family. For example, part of the reason that black men are more likely to be apart from their families is because black men are also more likely to be arrested, imprisoned, or killed by the criminal justice system.
The names are pretty funny. Oh, hang on. What's he saying here? A large part of which studies suggest is due to racism and implicit bias. Click the link in the upper right for more info. Oh, there was a video linked there. Okay.
Measure of personal responsibility.
Forgot about big swinging dicks. We'll come back to that, I promise.
And decision making that can cause problems.
All Australians talking that. I've definitely noticed there are. Sup, Witnesser of Christ. How you doing? I definitely think there is an element. I mean, quite frankly, having been to numerous different areas in Australia. We'll get another hydrated and a posture check and a flip off. There you go. Detroit. I think that, oh my god. I've been to a number of different like towns, cities, suburbs. I've met different social groups in different areas. It's honestly, it could be, you could relate this to class. You could relate this to just location. But quite frankly, that blue collar Aussie manner of speaking is pretty general across the board. But there are, like with the UK, for example, there are a number of, not dialects is not the phrase I'm looking for. I suppose like the different, I've been to, some areas where they're referred to, it's a good example. Like certain types of slang, I guess. Like one word means one thing over here, but you go to another town and, yeah, regional slang, regional accents, things like that. Do I believe in God? That's a whole discussion. No, I don't. To TLDR that one. The VB long neck man is your only experience with this accent. Wouldn't call it a class thing. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's class. It's not specifically class. I think broadly it probably ties in a way. But what was it? Who mentioned the thing about trying to emulate? Yeah, trying to emulate the British immigrant classy vernacular, which is in its own way kind of pretentious, but neither here nor there.
Of course. But by and large, in general, statistically, these are the systems that make it not impossible, but disproportionately difficult for Black people to put themselves in a position to create families with socioeconomically beneficial outcomes. I mean, is the argument that successful, healthy, and wealthy people never made any bad decisions in their life? And even if you're gonna make that ridiculous argument, you can still point
What's going on with the
back to
crackhead house cat?
systemic
Oh, your
problems.
house cat.
These same factors lead to things like limited access
We'll get
to
into union
healthcare
names.
services,
We'll talk about the religion thing in a minute.
subpar sex education, and financial strife in the household. But also, some people just want to have kids. And I think it's rude AF to tell Black people to basically wait for systemic racism to disappear before they're allowed to enjoy and build families. And it's even ruder to accuse Black parents of not doing the best they can to care for their kids when a lot of cases they're doing better than you. That's just me though. What do you think? I want to take a moment to go ahead and thank the sponsor of this video.
Is this just gonna be Skillshare for the... Yeah, it's just gonna be Skillshare and their patrons. Okay, there you go. There's the abs Black Father myth we've had a bit of a chit chat about. Why do I have a notification? I don't want a notification. Anyway, that was a good video. Honestly, that was a very good video. Gives a lot of good insights there. Go subscribe to T1J if you have not already. Fantastic content creator. It's a lot like the US in that they both have a huge amount of accents and regional vernacular differences. Yes, most certainly. Australia has a huge middle part that's unlivable, which might exacerbate those differences. Certainly, yes. You witnessed Christ. How so? Is what I would like to ask. What's just classist aesthetic, Sammy? What if you clipped me saying something uncouth? Abby is preferred, yes. What have I said? Colorado Aussie accent. It's like, yeah, no, how's it going, mate? Oh, yeah, that kind of thing. Colorado. It's true, though. Keep in mind, you know, people I've generally heard speaking like that have a lot more money than me. I'm punching up. Anyway. Well, what have we been talking about while the, what have we been talking about? We had the US thing. Why does this stream come on when you should be in bed? I know, Epo. I've been considering doing longer streams at some point, honestly. We may get onto that. Anyway. Have a good one, Epo Light. Sorry if I missed your message there. If you're still here, good night. Heard an argument that East Coast USA accents are closer to 18th century England English accents than modern England. That's what I've heard as well. I don't know what the truth is there. I don't know how you would even be able to verifiably state that, honestly. Like, I mean, they didn't have, for example, they didn't have video cameras back in ye olden days in the 1800s. Like, there is science on this? That's interesting. How did they determine it? How are we able to determine it? No recordings of 18th century spoken English. Rhyming schemes in old poetry. Interesting. There's a Bostonian accent that's incredibly rare that is close to an English accent. Quite frankly, the ideas around accent and the way that our voices develop over time is very interesting. But I'm not specifically educated on it, so I feel like I probably shouldn't speak to it too much. Would not be surprised if the last 2 or so of them died by now, though. Yeah. This column examines the link between this and the decline in low-skilled jobs in the era of mass incarceration that have disproportionately affected Black communities. It finds that differences in incarceration and employment dynamics between Black and white men account for half of the Black-white marriage gap. This is from a Vox article, and I'm not sure that you agree with the video. Still half of the disparity not accounted for by those socio-political factors. I see. Have a good one, Wither. Thank you so kindly for being here. Have a good one. Okay, so do we want to have a bit of a chit chat about God before we talk about big swinging dicks? We're going to talk about big swinging dicks. Oh, by the way, Witness, thank you for the follow. Well, it's 6 minutes ago. There we go. The reason actors in old US movies sound different is because they were from elite East Coast backgrounds who had traditionally imitated English accents. Interesting. Yeah, I've noticed that actually. I don't watch a lot of older movies. You know, I don't typically watch a lot of movies from the 50s and 60s or earlier. But the clips I've seen of them, like, you can very distinctly tell they sound very different to most actors of today, for example. Or, you know, most people you would hear speaking with typical American accents. And then you have to ask yourself the question of what is a typical American accent, right? You're an accent sponge. If you're with someone with a strong regional accent, you start unconsciously imitating it until they look at you like you're taking the piss. I wonder, Nouveau, do you have any diagnoses of perhaps autism or anything like that? Because I've met people who do that, and most of them were autistic. But it might not be a thing. I might just be imagining things. Dude, can I ask why my eyebrows are so pale? Why are my eyebrows so pale? Anyway, they actually invented an accent to be central. There doesn't have to be just one issue. There's a socio-political issue, but also when you grow up in a place with no